Hello guys, in this video I'll be showing how we can connect two VMs or how we can communicate between two VMs. So this is my setup. I'm using VMware. In VMware I have created two virtual machines. For this setup I'm using uh, one is a firewall and one is a server. These are Checkpoint products, and I'll show you my configuration how I have done on my VMware. So to connect to VMwares, the configuration which we have to do is for interface which I'm connecting between this VMs. I'm using ETH1 from VM1 and ETH0 from VM2. These both are connected to a virtual switch. So how we can create this virtual switch, I will show you. So this is my SCS. This is a smart center server, and for this I'm using a host only. We have to use host only. So my interface is ETH1. So for ETH1, what configuration I have done is host only. Similar configuration we have to do for the another VM. So this is my VM2, which is my gateway, and for ETH0, I'm using ETH0 to communicate between my another VM. So I'm using uh, ETH0, and the configuration which I'll select host only. So by selecting host only for both of the VMs, actually I'm creating a virtual switch. And for both this interface, I have to use a same subnet, which the configuration I'll show. So this is my virtual switch, which it will create if I'm using host only for both of my VMs. And this is a kind of layer 2 switch. So I have to use a same subnet for the VMs which I have to make a communication. So for VM1, I'm using dot 2, and from VM2, I'm using dot 1. And so this is the subnet which I'm using. Now I'll show how I can communicate between the two VMs. So I'll use putty so that I can highlight. So this is my gateway. As per the diagram, this is VM2. So my gateway, I'm using ETH0, and the IP is dot 1. ETH0, which I configured as host only, which is connected to virtual switch. We can refer the diagram. ETH0 for gateway, VM2 connected to virtual switch. And similarly, now I'll connect to the VM1, which is my smart center server. So this is my VM1, for which I'm using ETH1 as the interface, which is connecting to virtual switch, and dot 2 is the IP address. So this is my smart center server, which is VM1. We are using ETH1 as the interface. This interface I'm using host only type. This will be connected to virtual switch. My IP address is dot 2. So if we do this setup, and if we want to communicate between the two VMs, the VMs can be any, but necessarily those has to be on the same subnet. Now I can show that we can also ping the VM2. Okay, from Management, I cannot ping because I have one default policy which blocks all the traffic on my firewall. So this is a default policy which blocks all the traffic in on my firewall, but from my firewall I can ping to the server. I can ping. If I remove the policy, then I can ping from the server also. Now, now there is no policy. So again, I'll try to ping from my server. Now I can able to ping. So here what I want to show in this video is if we want to make a communication possible between two VMs, so we have to connect them using host only. If we use host only, this creates a virtual switch, and any number of VMs which are connected to the virtual switch uh, having the same subnet configured, then we can communicate between our VMs. So I hope this was informative and it is helpful for you. If you find helpful, kindly like